Thank you. This building ground committee will come to order. There's one item on the agenda, 25th Street program. Seems like every year I've done this, every March, our favorite time of year, item 6. I don't know, Barb, why that is, but I can't see it. Anyhow, this is where we kind of go through a number of things about, what streets. We have a limited amount of money. We could sit around and talk about how much money we have. I'm thinking we have about $2 million that could be transferred, sort of $2 million there that could be used. Maybe it could go down to 1.5 million, 1.4 million. So I guess I'm going to kind of go through 4 things here. How much do we have? What, if any, can we take from the general fund that we're not? We need estimates for these roads. We had some, I believe, a year ago. The roads having not probably gotten any better over time. And then can and to what extent can we use stormwater for the Brown and Elm Station Road project? Does that include some aspects of that need for improvement that might involve stormwater? So I guess general question to the administration, how much are we looking at if we wanted to sit down and say, we're going to do one road or a number of roads this year? What are we looking at that we can spend?
Currently, the road funds, 201 just ends up being really day-to-day maintenance and operations, salary and fringes, that type of thing. But for the roads fund, with the carryover projects, until those have been fine-tuned into what new prices really are, with those, we're sitting very close to zero on that until we can determine what those projects are, how much they're going to be. We've had some surprises with those old projects coming through. The general fund, right now, we're showing about $4.8 million to be the carryover at the end of 2025. Now, I would anticipate that will be somewhat higher because we have to budget funds that we are advancing. For example, when we're waiting for a grant to be reimbursed for one of the sewer projects, that type of thing, we have to advance that money and have that available and wait until the state comes back with that. So there's probably about $400,000 that's allocated in the budget for that right now that will end up, well, there may be some outstanding amount at year end. It will right itself once the state reimburses what's left. This year we had about $110,000 that was outstanding in that. So that was a fairly small amount and certainly was not a hardship for the city. The street bond, with the housekeeping that was done there and closing out projects that were ended, that type of thing, there's $1 million there.
Okay. Sounds about I come up with 5.4. Taking up that 400,000 for the amount you were talking about setting aside, but you think that'll come back eventually? So possibly 5.8, 5.4 to 5. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We wouldn't want to commit that full available balance from the general fund.
Okay.
No, we really don't want to.
How much of that do you think realistically?
Roughly the $2 million that we had talked about would be a fair figure.
I was hoping, I heard these higher numbers, I was hoping those came.
Yes, that's the total available for the estimated for the general fund.
Okay. So 3.4. 3.4 from the one street fund.
Yeah, and the general fund.
But as a point of
From the street fund. Correct, and 2 from the general. 3 million.
as a point of reference, for example, without even putting that $2 million transfer, et cetera, in, we've budgeted out of the general fund a little over $2 million more than we're taking in this year. So we're starting to see that inflation and those increased costs begin to impact what we're doing.
Okay. Thank you. So I guess my next question is to Chrissy and or Tony. What are your thoughts just off the top of your head regarding Brown Elm Station and the impact that talking about a lot of maybe speculation on what the possibility of stormwater going for some of that project because it's a stormwater issue out there as well.
So talking about Brownell Station Road from High Bridge to Vermillion Road, it's approximately 2,100 feet. Right now, those lanes are 9.5 foot wide, so they have to be widened to at least 12 foot, plus a 1 foot aggregate berm, which requires some drainage improvements there. So your stormwater fund could pay for some of the stormwater improvements that would have to be done on that. We did a construction cost estimate for Brownell Station Road. You're looking at about $1,466,000. $1,466,000. It's a construction cost. It's obviously without the benefit of, the soil borings and geotechnical report and design services. Based on numbers that we're seeing industry-wide, just making some assumptions on this roadway, that's what that cost would be. Preliminary.
I understand, yeah, and that's the problem. I mean, it's what we got to deal with. We got to deal with every street.
Right.
Okay.
You want me to continue? I did a couple other streets just
Go ahead.
just for council, and you can pick other streets. I'm just throwing it out there because I know Pineview was talked about. And this would be from Sanford all the way to Beachview. That's 1,400 feet plus or minus. That estimate is approximately $1,351,000. That's what I had.
Okay.
Construction costs.
Construction cost, correct. The construction cost. We also looked at Hollyview. I know we're looking at jobs or projects that we know the city's not going to get OPWC funding for because these are considered local roads. Pineview and Hollyview, we've submitted 3 times each year for OPWC and have not been successful. It just doesn't score enough based on your traffic. Hollyview from Forest View to Maple View is about 1,200 linear feet, and that estimated cost is $1,183,000. I know there was a chart we did for the city that kind of shows the pavement condition rating over the years of the project. Any street the city's asked us to look at, we've got a history kind of showing not all the streets are done every year. It's based on what council wants to do or what we do with OPWC applications. So we provide a date of when that PCR was done. Obviously, the streets aren't getting better. They're all going in the wrong direction. They're getting to the point, obviously, they all have to be replaced, reconstructed. So these are streets that you can just do a mill and fill. The condition, there's no base under a lot of these roads, so you actually have to tear out the base and do the mill on the other streets. So the other streets, the council would like us to look at, we can do that.
All right. All right, any other questions from members of council for the administration?
Just open discussion.
Well, let's give them a chance if you're doing that. Yeah, we're going to get to open discussion. Just if they, and council have any questions?
I guess I do. So there was 2 streets council picked last year. March month? I always get the second one.
Not a whole large amount.
Yeah, where are we at? And those were small little projects. Where are we at with that?
We're getting ready to bid those out. We finally got the geotechnical report back last week.
Nothing surprising with any of that stuff.
Typical, there's no base, they have to be reconstructed.
Okay. And then we got a grant for Haley Street.
Correct, we have OPWC funding for Haley Street. That money becomes available in July, but we don't want to replace that road probably until next year.
Until after the police station's built.
That's going to be heavily beat up during construction.
What's our portion, our responsibility to replace the cost-wise? Is it 50/50? Is it 80/20?
I think I don't have it in front of me, I think we got over $300,000 in grant. We got some loan money with that too.
I guess my question was, what do you recommend council set aside to make sure that we can obviously take advantage of the free money and fix that street once the police station is built?
Well, that project where we got funding from OPWC.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get a proposal to you, do the final plan on those, and then bid it out next year. The other OPWC project they got funding was Hybrid Road, north of the railroad tracks, just north of Parkside, Missouri. That got OPWC money too. That was approved last year, so that'll be a project that would be, whether it's done, this year or next year.
But it's not 100% coverage, right? I mean, they're not paying 100%.
So you usually get about 300,000,
320, somewhere in there.
in there. It's based on the scoring. You got to go through that, look at how much your loan is and how much grant money and what the total construction cost is. That weighs into those points that OPWC looks at. So we were successful in getting those two projects funded.
So I guess what I'm saying is we can't spend all the money right now because we got to make sure we have enough when it's time to do those streets. Now, if that could be out of next year's streets fund, potentially, right?
But I think Amy accounted for that in the budget already.
So it's already in here.
You're gonna have to double check that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely need to know that before we make any definite decisions on, we spend all this money and then find out Haley's up, and we got grant money and we don't have any money to cover the other half. That's my only concern.
So providing that that's been budgeted, we got $3.4 million put into roads. Yeah.
That's my,
When can you give us an answer on if that was put in or not?
As soon as I get a chance to sit down with these guys later this week.
Okay.
One other
Push this off then?
One other project to talk about is Sunnyside Phase 3 is out for bid. The bid opening is this Thursday. That one we got state dollars for. So that'll complete from Phase 2 all the way up to Liberty Ave. We got money through MPL on that. So that's another project that the city has for a roadway.
And that one's more like an 80-20.
Yeah, if memory serves, I think last year when we were talking about these roads, and I haven't gone back to do the research to compare, but it seemed like last year was one of the cheapest amounts of money that council had ever approved. And I think when we talked about that, we did that solely for the purpose of let's hold on to some of this money, pick some of these plans here, and I'll throw it out there. I know we're talking generalities, but I'm going to hammer on Pine View and Olive View. They're the worst rated roads. They've been the worst rated roads for a very long time. Yeah, I'll just say that we specifically spent very little money last year for this reason, in my opinion.
I agree with your statement. That is exactly, I think, what our philosophy was. So we could at least get that, the street by the pool tackled. I think that was a lot of our discussion.
Yeah. Pine View.
Yeah.
And certainly respect Councilman Bailey's opinion on how Pine View was definitely something we would
100%.
hammering and stuff. Well, I guess what, like any other general discussion. Councilman.
I would just concur. I did some site visits on the majority of this rating, the PCR, and it went anywhere from 2018 all the way to current. And when you take a look at the roads, so this scale is pretty interesting. I'm not sure if you're aware, it goes from like 0 to 40, and that's the very poor. And then it goes from 40 to 55, and that's poor. And as you look at over time, how Pineview in particular has gone from scores of 36 down to 15, that's beyond very poor. And when you see manhole covers coming up in the road, there's concrete buckling, and then right behind that is a huge pothole. The road is just not even, you can't even navigate that. And then on top of that, you've got the safe streets coming in. Pineview, I'm sorry. Yeah, Pineview. You've got the safe streets coming in, and you've got these roads that just are inaccessible. But Hollyview is no better. And that has continued to degrade over time, by which it is 14.5 now. In 2018, it was 29.6, so it continues to get worse. That was tough to navigate this weekend. But Brownhelm Township, or Brownhelm Station, is just as bad. So we've got some really bad roads. And if you look around all of Vermillion, there's bad roads. It's what degree of bad. and that's what we have to really determine.
I have another question for you, Ms. What's the status on Safe Routes to School on Pine? Is that going to be done this year, that work?
Yes. Yeah, actually, construction's going to start next Monday.
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to start on Pineview, but they'll start project.
Okay.
I also wanted to comment, I know that Councilman Howell had asked me a meeting or so ago to check with the township to see what their road plans were, see if we could partner up again. This year, they got some funding for West River Road in the township, so they're going to complete that. And for next year, I know that they were discussing another road more in the township. I think it was Sperry is what they were talking about. So as of right now, there's no intentions for them to go after any OPWC money for Claus or Brownhill Station Road. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I guess I'll ask you, being Ward 3, if you had to pick one of the two over there, Pineview or Hollyview, that was just a must, which one?
I don't like getting that put on me. It's tricky, and honestly, I was surprised when you said the footage. That curve is deceptive, because I never would have thought Hollyview, that section wasn't anywhere close to the length of Pineview. It sounds like they're really close. That almost blew my mind. I mean, you have a 4.5 or 14.5 and a 15 on the PCR.
Right.
Which are the worst by far. So it's hard to say, hey, which one's worse?
Listen, I think it makes sense to fix the street with a pool. I mean, we're putting a splash pad in, I mean,
We've got a street that is going to be, the property owners will be improved, the values will be improved with the State Routes to Schools. We have a street that we looked at last year. It's almost that we were talking about OPWC. I think more people would travel on it if it could be traveled upon safely. They might have more of just a pickup on volume. And it's, it is the cool street.
it's very valuable residents, not just the people that live on that street.
And it's an access street to the school. It's one of several, sort of like when we look at Larchmont, like all those streets going near the school are pretty critical. We made a goal years ago to kind of just go from south to north towards the lake and getting all those view streets done, and to me, Pineview is the last. I agree, Hollyview's in bad shape. What I'm going to just be very straightforward is I'm going to make a motion that we send Pineview out to bid. However, I'm supposed to, I've only been on council for 14 years, but how to put that out for bid for Pineview. I'd like to do that incrementally.
You have to first request for it to be designed. It's got to be designed first before it goes out.
However, whatever motion to get that particular streets improved. The other thing I'm worried about is it going to interfere with Safe Routes to School construction? Or can it be done at the same time?
Safe routes will be done sooner.
Safe routes will be done.
That's sidewalks, right?
Sidewalks will be done, yes.
Okay. All right.
Wait until we get an answer from finance for that?
I'm still with the couple of
Plenty left over.
Yes, 3.4 million, I'm going to go with that. I wanted to come back with that.
Here.
I'll second your motion to go out for design for Pineview.
It's the most, okay. Any discussion now? You got a second on that motion? Okay, Glenn?
Okay, Worthing,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
West. Yes. Hal,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, so,
While we're on the topic, then I'll make a motion to go out for Brownhill.
For engineering, design engineering. Okay.
that's one point. I'll second that. So at this point, do we have any discussion regarding Brownhill Station Road? Yes, Councilman.
Just real quick for both of these, really, how much does it cost for us to do the design stuff for this?
It's usually between 8 and 10% of the design cost.
So you're looking at, between the two of these, 300 grand.
We'll need to final number. We'll come back to council with both. Yeah, but that's usually the one.
Still getting some balance on the 3.4. With both.
My only thought is that 1.4 potentially for Pineview, not including design, right? So we're probably looking at about 1.6, maybe potentially. And then Brownhelm's gonna be 1.5 plus design. That's a lot of money.
That's why we did what we did last year, though.
No, well, we did what we did last year to cover Pineview only. To me, I would say we should cautiously approach this and just move a little bit slower. Let's tackle Pineview, let's see what the numbers really are, and we can always come back and revisit. I'm all for fixing every street we can, I mean, I really am, but we're throwing a lot of money right now. Yeah, I'm just a little nervous taking the money, because we're taking the money out of the general fund. And it's not like this is the road fund that's sitting there and waiting to be spent. So it's just my thought.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just want to make the point, I think that in the information we have, we consider it would be a reasonable step forward. Brownhelm Light Committee, I mean, there's 18 very cores on this thing, okay? So, but that's an important road too that's used by a lot of people. But this is a democracy, so, you know,
I think the other
we're looking
piece
at it differently. So.
for me is, I mean, it's a little bit more money than Pineview, I get that, but it's almost 1,000 feet more too. Well, I understand it's worse, but we're talking about double the length of roadway that we could get for, you know, a little bit more. Put the motion out there, I mean, if it goes down, it goes down. I just think we owe it to those folks out in that area to get a grant for this too.
I have a question
Okay, go ahead, Councilman.
for Amy. Are there any other pockets we could pull money out of? Nothing at all? Nothing. Okay, not yours either.
Congratulations, that question is asked every March.
Oh, yes, very good.
I don't know, it sounds like I'm the last person to ask, you know?
Councilman Brewer.
Oh, yeah, thank you. No, I'll always yield to Pat if she wants to say something. How long do these design plans usually last? Are they good for?
Oh, they can sit on the shelf.
And unless something major happens to the road, if we go out for design for Brownhelm, so we get to it 2 years later, 3 years later, we can use the same exact one?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Numbers change.
Cost will go up. Plan will change.
Gotcha.
But we don't have to spend all the money to
Right.
do complete
You say,
redesign.
hey, we don't want to spend that money.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? We do have a motion and a second, so good point.
Hal,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
Worley.
Yes, you already have.
Karen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So I don't think we have any more money, so.
No pockets.
Absolutely, come on up, Mr. Taft.
Homer Taft. I'm still at 3972 Edgewater Drive. I'll start with a number of years ago, when he was actually a councilman. Mayor Forthover was one of those who came up with the so-called rubric, good name for grading roads and like, and deciding what to do. One thing I never understood quite about that is I never hear any discussion of how much actual traffic or measuring traffic on roads. Because, for example, Pineview because of the pool, or Brownhelm because it's not just a residential street, it's used by a lot of other folks, in a connector, have heavier traffic. And that, I would think, should also guide your thoughts of where you first spend your money on the worst roads. But I mainly got up because I had passed something on to Tony Valerius, and I thought probably all of you should know about it. And I'm sure that Tony, in his copious spare time with 38 water breaks and VOL sewers and water plant, wastewater plant, lovely winter, that's had nothing to do with, think about what I sent. But Amherst hired a firm called Street Logics for a contract, and they measured they are measuring every one of their roads. And then they update it every year. I don't know what that costs, you could ask Amherst, but whether it was every road or whether it was some roads, I wanted to bring that to your attention as something that you might be able to get some professional assistance on grading all the roads through some somewhat automated processes and get a lot more information.
Does that measure traffic as well?
I don't know if they measure, I don't know everything they're doing. So I happened to see the article, I passed it on to Tony, and I just wanted to pass it on to you. They may take traffic into account, or they may just be looking at the condition of the roads. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pat's comments. There are different vendors that provide that information, different communities. I asked the gentleman to come in and do a presentation to council. What they do is they drive down every street, they camera it, and then they rate it based on PCI index, which is similar to the PCR.
What does PCI stand for?
Pavement condition index, it's a different rating, the pavement condition rating. But there's different companies that do that. We could have a gentleman come in and do a presentation. Kind of give you an idea, same thing Mr. Pat was talking about, where they do it by video, and then they rate the streets, and they score them, they tell you how many bad streets you have, and there's deterioration every year. Probably educational, probably good, but it's not free. I mean, and then every year, obviously they charge you. Some cities maybe do half their city every other year, just to get updates on it. But it's a helpful tool. But usually you see a lot of communities that have a road levy, that they have a couple $1 million every year they want to spend, so they want to use that wisely as opposed to trying to catch up. It's an option for council to consider.
All right, that'll close the Streets, Buildings, and Grounds Committee meeting.